Alright, welcome back everybody to another Culz Reviews episode. And this one's kind of exciting for us because though we have done paranormal movies on Spirits of the Silver Screen with Matt, we haven't actually done a Culz Reviews with a ghost movie yet. We've done UFOs, plenty of UFOs, ask Sam.
Yep.
And
we've
done a couple Bigfoot ones. Still not missing 411, but we promise you one of these days we will get to it. Our topic today is Demon House, the documentary by Zak Bagans from Ghost Adventures. As usual, my name's Keegan. Joining me tonight is
Matt.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
Sam.
Alright, so there is some acting. I guess we could judge that a little bit.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah, some acting. But overall, I guess it is sort of a documentary in the way of missing 411 or unacknowledged in a way, I would guess. Alright, so Matt, what was the backstory behind this?
Well, it was in Gary, Indiana. It's a house that is like a gateway to hell type thing that's being protected by this 12-foot goat mask wearing entity. And it's, harmed people, killed, death, driven people nuts. It's harmed producers that have gone in there. It's harmed the camera people. It's harmed the agents selling the house. It's
Child Protective Services.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Also Zak Bagans.
Yeah, Zak Bagans. He had to get some cornea surgery to fix his eyes that
Still
never
not
got
fixed.
fixed.
Well, he couldn't get
I don't
surgery
think he did
because
the surgery.
Oh, because it was
Yeah,
a
he could
death
potentially
or
go blind.
go
right,
blind, so now he has to wear his prism glasses. Yeah, so it's a pretty intense sounding situation. Gary, Indiana, obviously just about like 30 minutes south of Chicago. And today it's a little bit more of a rough area, and so, even while filming it, they conclude that, that energy might help build up this kind of demonic possession, as they call it. Because, if you're feeding the spirits energy, it gives them a lot to feed off of and manifest. And, it's kind of interesting. I think we could also talk about maybe some of the stuff we saw here that we've maybe experienced in our own investigations. So I'm going to hand it off to Sam. What part of the documentary kind of brought back some memories of an investigation we did?
So the part after they were in the house doing like a kind of an investigation / walkthrough, the cameraman and the doctor, right?
Yeah.
Well, the doctor that they were with, they were making readings and checking the
Magnetic. Energy.
geomagnetic energy. After they went back to the hotel room, the cameraman saw something in the elevator and then was acting real strange, and when they finally got the cameraman back into the hotel room, he didn't want anything to be recorded, and that reminds me of an investigation that we did at a house. My cousin asked us to stop recording and was very adamant about it. Even people that weren't recording and were just like holding their hands. Like, I was holding my hands like this, and he thought I had a camera, and I didn't have a camera in my hand, and I like moved my hands aside, and he was just like, stop recording. I'm like, I don't have anything.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience. I remember because there was this one little room, and the majority of us were like in his cousin's bedroom, and it was like his recording room, if I remember right.
No, it was like the bedroom, and then it was his recording room, and then it was the room
Like the
on
spare
the
room.
corner.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a spare room, but he was using it as like a little storage room.
And I remember it was either Alan or Adam came up to me, and they're like,
It was
"Hey,
Adam.
was it Adam?" And he was like, "Go into that room." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Just go in there and then tell me." And I was like, "Okay." And I walked in, and it was like you were walking into like water that was electrified.
Yeah, a wall of electricity.
It was something I don't know if I've ever felt. It was really weird. I was just like your hair stands up, and I was like, this is strange. So me and Adam decided we'd do a little like communication or try to. I was in one corner, Adam was in the other, and we were starting to ask questions, and I forget what Adam was at, because this was a few years ago.
He was in the room.
Well, no, but what he was asking. And he said something about, like,
Talk to us.
talk to us, and something about,
Are you afraid or like?
we don't like you or something like that. And then from the living room, you hear Nick say, but I thought we were friends. And it didn't really sound like him, and we're like, oh, that was weird. I mean, maybe he thought we were talking to him or something. And then he was like clicking.
No, he clicked before.
Well, but I heard it after that. I didn't
I
hear
heard it before and after.
I heard-
watched him do it, and that was fucking strange.
I only heard it after. I guess I was so focused on, like, okay, I gotta just make sure I hold the camera on Adam in case something did happen. And then we heard the clicking, and then he was like, no more filming. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, he had asked everybody to come out the room, or he asked everybody to come into the living room. And
Sit on the
then-
couch, no recording. And
Yeah,
I
no
remember
recording and
Sam was like standing like this.
yeah, arms crossed.
And Nick was like, no. And Sam was like, I don't have anything,
Yeah,
And then, we didn't end up recording or anything after that. And the whole time I was like, oh, I can't wait to listen to EVP because I bet you we caught something good. And it turned out that the EVP was completely erased.
we had some investigations on there that we didn't pull off too,
Yeah.
or some EVPs.
And
they're
so I was
all
just
gone.
like, I was so confused. Like, I was like, I know this was recording. We'd walked by it multiple times. You could see the light still on. And I turned it off. And then we went to listen to it, it was gone. It was the weirdest thing.
Was there a button that you could have accidentally pushed?
No. I mean, there is, but to stop recording, it's just one. And we were like, well, maybe Nick did it, but it was in that room, and we know Nick didn't go in there after we went in there. Because he was very adamant on us staying out. And so, I don't know, that just reminded me of that. I was like, oh, that was a weird little connection there.
Just to jump back in real quick, I did want to share an experience that I had that related to the documentary. When I was at Beth's house, I got touched at one point, and I kind of related to the documentary with one of the cameramen feeling like something was touching his hand, and he had a different experience. He felt cold, and I felt hot, but it did click in my head again with that experience.
I mean, just what part about, was there a part in this episode that got you? That was just like, oh, that's weird or something like that.
Not that it's weird. I mean, this is all stuff that I believe in, and you experience it at some point in your life, whether you remember it or not. But yeah, no, I mean, some of the interesting stuff. It's just the meter that the guy had on Zak at the time. He was feeling something. He was hitting, like, what was it they said, like almost 1 million times.
No,
Like-
it's like one hurt.
Yeah,
It
was
was
that
like-
one hurt?
It was like
One
18 times like higher than what it should be or something like
I
that.
thought it was something
Yeah.
higher than 18.
It's like
Massive number different.
18,000.
18,000 sounds more about right. Like the time of the energy coming off of him, the magnetic energy. So
Magnetic energy.
that was kind of interesting.
He
Made
hit
us think
one
about
hertz, which humans don't usually hit one
Yeah.
hertz.
Yeah.
The fact that he wanted to be boarded in the house by himself.
Right?
I mean, you take it to that extreme, you might as well just.
He did journalize.
Well,
off
no,
at one
he
point.
eventually
Yeah.
did, but
Went to night vision.
Then he was like, I'm going to try to go to bed. And then he was just like, no.
Ain't doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like a pretty intense situation.
Yeah, it escalated a little bit.
There was one part where Andrew was like, what was that? When there was the baby.
Yeah.
That's my baby, EVP.
Mhm.
Andrew was like, did you hear that?
Who was that?
He like,
He
No,
called it,
this
actually.
is probably the creepiest part in the whole movie was when he was sitting in there and you hear the voice and then all of a sudden the camera goes a little fuzzy and he sees
Yeah, 'cause he
something in
jumped
front of-
back.
Yeah, and he's like, what the hell? And he goes and throws something at it. Just
it's my favorite part.
Spawn of Satan!
That is definitely my
Ace
favorite part.
Ventura did.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really. I wish there was more of the investigation in this. And I know, like, from our own experiences, you can't really put too much of an investigation because then it's just, like, sitting around.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like about 4 o'clock, was it 4 or 4:25, something like that? It really amplified because he heard that voice, and then he was in his
The
room.
voice was at like 12.
Oh, 12, and then the rest of the stuff was at 4.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
3.
you hear, like,
3 almost
Footsteps like moving.
Yeah, and
and
then
stuff.
like a door, or like Matt said, it sounded like a
door.
goat.
It was like a goat sound,
Yeah,
but like
it was
also a growl.
Yeah,
It's like a humanoid goat sound.
and
Yes.
then,
And that was all right about the 420 mark, you know.
but that was,
Sorry, little Colorado reference there. For fans watching from out of state.
Colorado humor.
yeah, but then I had to edit this, and
You're gonna edit
and
this
then
out.
it makes it a little choppy sounding.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, that part definitely just like built. And what I liked, personally, what I liked was the whole little portion of him trying to like find out if it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I always enjoy when it's not just like, oh yeah, this is real. No, when you actually go back and do the work and you're like, question, you gotta always make sure, could this be a hoax or is it real, you know? And I think if you do enough work to show it's not a hoax, or enough work to look in the hoax part, you'll find out if it is or not.
True.
Well, that could be where it was a little misleading too, because he did his part. He called in some professionals, and they said, "Yeah, you've got carbon dioxide leaking in, you've got a valve broken, which is also leaking gas." And I mean, just all these different things. And they were like, "Yeah, all this could lead to illusions and stuff like that."
Yeah, so it
Or
Irrational
definitely,
behaviors.
it definitely, like, I guess flipped it, and it was enough into the documentary, I feel like you could have thought that's the way that it was going to end up.
Yeah.
Was like, okay, so, but yeah, it's this big news thing, you know, and to say if it's a hoax or not, I mean, that really threw a wrench into it. That's like if I went to the Stanley Hotel and said, nothing's here. I did that. But, that's against something. One-time event, maybe we go back this year, maybe Matt stays the night in the haunted room and we actually find something. But yeah, I think throwing that wrench in there really was a good pathway to at least allowing more of the backstory. And it was kind of like, okay, now money's involved. Those people don't want to talk to him because some big Hollywood producer thought he was going to throw the wallet around and be like, I'm going to close you out of the story. Which is weird, like he owns the house, you know. Are you boarding yourself up in that house, Sam?
I mean, it's destroyed, so no.
I mean,
It's gone, so I can't.
hypothetically, would you
Do you
board
want to chain yourself to the tree on the property?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
I think since
That'd
they've
be a bad part
bulldozed
of
the
trying to
house,
get
Yeah.
they're still getting a lot of people congregating around that area still.
Yeah, doing satanic rituals on top of the place that it was at.
Or people think they're doing
Well,
satanic.
they think they're
Right.
doing it. I mean, from what?
It's like we go back to our Wicca thing where people say they're Wiccan, and then I talk to Andrew, and then the people that say they're Wiccan do not sound very Wiccan. We've come across this a lot up in Manitou Springs. In Denver, you find this a lot. You ask them the true history of Wicca, and they say something completely different. And you're like, okay, not like. Sometimes people might perceive them doing a satanic ritual. I do not put it against them. There might be people doing it, you know, but maybe they're not doing. Maybe they're just trying to communicate too, like an old seance type of thing too. Yeah. So I mean, lots of crazy things going on. I don't know. I would have probably parted myself up in that house.
Well, we know you would have.
Yeah, I would have. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, but like we would have left you too, though. We would have went back to the hotel and I fuck this shit.
I think-
Keegan can handle himself.
Right?
I think they did. I think they left him.
Well, they had to. What were they gonna do?
Just sit out there.
Sit outside
I
in
would.
that sketchy part of town?
I would.
Yeah, there's parts.
Just have yourself a little handheld with you. You know, you can just sit there.
Okay,
Leave my
this
buddy
isn't
out
this,
there.
this isn't Kroger. You can call it a gun. You can call it a gun here.
That's when we got demonetized. Actually, we probably got demonetized talking about UFOs.
Probably.
So yeah, this is kind of going to be like our paranormal trilogy. Is kind of how I envision these 3 reviews going. Because last week we did Unacknowledged, which was a really good UFO documentary. And so this week we were like, hey, let's check out a ghost documentary. So which better than Demon House? And then next week, Missing 411. Can we confirm it?
I don't know. Can we?
Sam is still questionable, but yes. This is the trilogy I've kind of planned out. Are these? I think they're my 3 favorite paranormal documentaries, at least in each subject. So we'll start with you, Matt. What would you give the rating and everything, and how do you think this compares with our first of this trilogy?
I think I was maybe expecting more out of this. I'm probably in a 7 ballpark here. It did have a lot of neat stuff in there, but it still left you kind of all over the place. It was bouncing around too much for me. As far as out of the trilogy so far, this would fall number 2 then.
Okay. All right. This is your first review out of the trilogy. Andrew, how did this one turn out for you?
I'd probably give it a 7 as well.
7.
I just didn't feel like it gave me enough. There was some footage in it that really made me want more of that.
Yeah.
And there wasn't more of that, so I feel a little empty inside. So I'm taking
So
away.
the footage was good, but at the same time, see, this is the thing with paranormal investigating. I've always tried to tell people, once you capture something, it's almost like a drug. You gotta have more, but you want more.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want something more extreme. Like, okay, so you get this EVP. Okay, well now I want 2 words in that EVP. Okay, I want 3. Well now I want something. You know, it keeps building.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this weird thing, and like I've seen it because we go to investigations, and like we'll get EVPs, and I'll feel kind of disappointed. I'm like, oh, that's still pretty cool, but man, remember that last one?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes locations, the hype kills it. Maybe the Stanley Hotel kind of fell into that, where, you know, it's super hyped up, it's in movies, we go there, nothing. But then at the same time, Waverly Hills Sanatorium, super hyped up, we go there in the daytime, see some crazy stuff going on. So I don't know, Sam?
I'll probably go with the 7 as well. Definitely thought it was pretty good. I am wondering if there was stuff in there that they caught more of but chose not to show. Because when he saw the figure, they had cameras in multiple spots throughout the house. Why didn't they show other angles?
Well, sometimes it might not come up on every camera.
Oh, because he did have it turned the lights off, and they probably weren't infrared or
Yeah.
night.
They were night vision, weren't they?
Yeah, but at the same time, there's times we'll catch EVPs on one thing and not the other, even if they're right next to each other. That's another kind of weird, like, ghost hunting is such a, like, new, what we're trying to make science, that it's really hard to make it that science, because we're not to the point where we have tools to, like, guarantee everything will catch it. And so at some point, maybe like 100 years, 20 years, I mean, I don't know how fast technology is going to go in this field, but hopefully at some point, yeah, everything, you know.
Yeah, pretty much all of our tools we're taking from other things that they're meant for.
Yeah, and at some point, you know, if this can become more mainstream in a good way, which is really hard, there's very few paranormal shows I watch. Mainly because I watch it and I just don't buy into it. Ghost Adventures might be the only one I watch, actually. I can't watch any of the other ones. Like, there's some on there and I'm just like... People will watch it with me just to force me to, like, be, like, irritated the whole time watching something. Yeah, so this is probably, so far, my favorite, like, ghost documentary we've watched. I'd probably give it, like 8.5, 9 out of 10. I definitely think it was good. We do have the Cheeseman Park House one coming up, so we'll see how that one compares. But yeah, we were excited to finally do a Culz Reviews episode of ghosts, you know, material. We've done lots of paranormal stuff, like I said, with aliens and Bigfoot. Got another Bigfoot one coming up. But yeah, we have really left the ghost stuff to Matt's Spirits of the Silver Screen episodes. Which, speaking of Spirits of the Silver Screen, sounds like it might be starting back up pretty soon, right?
Oh yes, got some very new, exciting material coming up. I mean, the movies aren't new, but
Yeah. I mean, you might say Red Rum,
yes, a little red rum can go a long way.
right? But if you want to see more Culz reviews, click the link over Matt. If you want to see more from us here at Culz Paranormal, click the link over Sam. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a
Subscribe. And turn that notification bell from personalized to all if you want to be notified on all of our videos.
Yeah. And let us know in the comments below. Have you seen The Demon House? What'd you think of it? And what's your favorite ghost documentary?